So how many of you have have a Facebook or Google Plus or Tweet? So a lot of Facebooks, okay? Everybody's on Facebook in some form. And so I'm interested in asking, and I'll kind of come back to this then. So let's talk about Facebook for a minute. I'm interested in what people are finding. What's the greatest benefit that you're getting right now from having a Facebook presence that perhaps you may or may not be getting on your website? What's your Facebook doing for you that maybe anything else you're doing isn't?
It's a way to get feedback on items that we're posting online. In the website, we don't get as much of a way for people to say, we like this, we don't like this. There's not so much commentary about it, and that's something that Facebook provides.
And are you asking them for feedback, or they're volunteering it? Are you posing some questions from time to time?
Occasionally, we tried posing questions, but then we ran out of question ideas, so that fell by the wayside.
What questions should we be asking? Okay.
I have a question of the people who do have Facebook pages. What level of participation are you finding from your congregations? Because we have a congregation that we don't have a lot of young people. We have a middle group that will use Facebook, and then we have a much older population that is not even on the internet. They might have an email account, or they don't have internet access at all. So I'm just wondering who you reach. We actually had a page, but I didn't put up my hand because it gets so little participation, it isn't used any.
Any thoughts?
Actually, I know the answer to that offhand because Facebook has analytics to it. Mainly who we're reaching is actually a wide range of about upper 20s all the way up into the elderly, because we do put a lot of pictures on from the senior saints. So they sometimes go to Facebook and we know they're following and they like it, but they don't necessarily always comment. So so you can track how many people you have, but which is a better indicator than
Comments.
Who's commenting and who's liking, because it's information that way, and we are building steadily. So.
And are you able to start seeing trends? Then certain things will provoke more comments or more likes or more traffic than others?
Mm-hmm, definitely. Pictures of people in the congregation will get more likes and shares and commentary.
Great. Other thoughts? The benefits that you're seeing. Greatest benefit of your Facebook page versus something else. The feedback part is a great point. Thank you.
I've become sort of a troglodyte with Facebook. I had a page, and then I read my niece's remarks on it, and I said, I don't want to know this. And so I just stopped. I abandoned it. I've gone back to it, but I don't even look at it because I'm not interested in it on what other people comments. I don't really care.
Oh, God.
But I'm a little bit struck by this, and the church has a Facebook page, and there are pictures that show up on it. I don't know who puts those pictures there. I mean, they're good pictures. I mean, they're pictures of things going on in the church. But what bothers me is that in the past, when in a previous life, we were very much concerned about children, and we would never identify children by name or any other sort of personal information. And so I am a little bit concerned about that whole business of privacy and the protection of children and Facebook. Could you comment?
That's in fact, somebody raised the point about HIPAA regulations as well.
Thank you.
See, we're reading your responses and responding to them.
HIPAA's only medical.
But I think
I go to nursing homes.
So I'll comment on that, but I want to come back to this point and hear about it as well. I think that is a very delicate area, particularly when children are involved and you're using them to post those pictures in public places. Oftentimes, and I think personally, a great place to look for guidelines and something like that, if you don't have those at the local level, might be your school. Because many schools have policies about outsiders coming in, photographing or posting pictures of students without permission of the parents or things like that. And I think it's important, and I would suggest that that might be something that is a reflection and a conversation, you know, within your parish to say what's appropriate and what's right for us. But the tendency is to be very careful not to just simply post pictures of young children, certainly elementary age children, without getting their parents' permission in advance.
I would just like to say the majority of children who have a Facebook account, either through their own account or through somebody else's account, they already have their pictures online with their name attached to them. Mm-hmm. It is already they already are trying to have their name associated with that picture. So while security is important, it's not something children either care about or something that children already do without your permission already. And so even when you do it, we won't notice, honestly. We don't notice.
Right. And I think, I mean, I really appreciate that comment because I think it's very, very, very true. And part of our role here is, I think, as parents and as guardians, to recognize that while that goes on, it's not our place, because there are people who may have access to our media that may not have access to theirs. And so we're not creating yet another venue to create and connect names and identities. So, you know, I'll give you an example for a local not-for-profit. Then I want to come back to Donna's comment about HIPAA and kind of where she's working and the work that she does, is literally at a broad public event, whenever we photographed a child or with a parent, we made sure we got a release, even though it was only going to be on our Facebook and even though they were at a public event. Because again, that may be kind of over the top in a way, but we're at the point where we want to be really careful that if we're sharing something publicly, you know, we're looking out and respecting the safety and privacy of those involved, particularly children.
And I just want to say that through the diocese here, there is a media release that's required when you're photographing children, and especially if you're going to use them on your Facebook pages or in any kind of publication, right, then you should be sure that you have the parents' permission.
Wonderful. Donna,
thank you,
did
Kathy,
you want to talk, or could you talk for?
Thank you, Kathy, for that. I also want to say that what's so critical is the degree of online predators. And so how very important it is to be aware of this. And, you know, I just am very taken with how important it is to be very careful before posting pictures, especially since so often photos now have identifying means to say where they were taken. And so I think it's just a real mine to be careful of. Thank you.
In my business, I have to be very careful of immigration. Mm-hmm. A lot of who I feed, I have no idea if they're here legally or not. It's not my business. They're hungry. So I've had some clients who refuse to give me their names because of this very issue. So any pictures I ever take, I try and take it from the side or back so they cannot be identified. If I asked for a form, they wouldn't even know what I'm talking about, or how to fill it out, or even how to sign their name. So Facebook, in that sense, picture-wise, just doesn't work that I can see, unless I'm missing something.
Your food pantry, right?
Food pantry. 80% are Haitian, and about 50% of those don't speak English or write or read their own language. So I am.
But I mean, your food donors are great photo ops.
Yes,
or your volunteers.
But oftentimes that is not, you know, well, it is. It's anonymous. I don't know where it all comes from because it's dropped off at church baskets, or it's there is one. This school, as a matter of fact, gave us over 2,000 pounds. I have wonderful pictures of these children delivering that food. But outside of something where, again, I've got kids. I'd have to go around to 30 different children's.
You may look for volunteers, you may look for those
Yeah.
other kinds of things that you can share, because you may say, the best thing for a Facebook is the communication there is really to attract and show the engagement of that part of our work. And that group we want to engender.
But the
talk with.
volunteers are having fun, sir. The people who come are not,
Understand.
so.
Right. So you're making a decision. What's right for us? What can we use? And what's going to be effective? Yeah.
I'm sorry, but as someone who, I probably can give you some perspective as someone who is looking at what you post on Facebook. I'm on the other side. I'm not posting. I'm just looking at what you post. And it's not really necessary to see, for example, the children's face. To me, when we look at our news feed, that's based what is on Facebook, it's so much anyway that we tend to only look at the headline. So what I will see is St. Mark's feeds homeless. So unless I go deeper into it, it's not really that important that you have a picture of me handing you the food. The picture's there and I see it, but it's not it's nice to have, basically. So what you're doing is just raising an awareness that, St. Mark's feeds children, I'm interested in that, and then I can go further into it. So what I'm saying is, though it's nice to have a picture, don't so much focus on getting the correct picture and the right lighting. And what's more important, just like getting the few words out there, so the message out there, so we can see, this is what they're doing. And then it will probably even, someone else goes to St. Mark's. I have no idea where St. Mark's is. It might be in Ohio. But I'm interested in that, and I go ahead and I like St. Mark's page, so I can go back. Whenever they do something else, it pops up in my news feed, so I can continually see what the other churches are doing or the other groups are doing. So don't get discouraged. I don't have the right picture. Just get focused on getting the word out there and posting what you're doing, what we're doing this week. It works. Trust me, we see them.
Thank you.
I had just two things. One, in addition to what we're saying with Facebook, we also use it as announcement, in between weeks, as we do with email and our constant contact. We'll put out there, for example, annual meeting this Sunday. We may have announced it in church. Some people weren't there, but it'll go out this week, and then people will know that, they can like that as well. But we also use it as a form of announcement. Right. And the other thing I just wanted to comment was that very proud of our Episcopal Church, and that even in training of seminarians, one of the questions that's come up and they've actually put together is for the GOE, the exams, is specific to social media, and how you as a rector or a priest in a church would deal with, setting up guidelines for use of social media. Wonderful. Which is essential to what we're saying here as well.
Donna?
Yes, I do services in nursing homes and pastoral care. And I have to, as I am a guest in these facilities, I have to be very careful with what I do and abide by their rules and regs. And Bonnie always wants stories and pictures. Well, pictures are big no-nos. Stories aren't an issue. I can tell the story and change the names. But pictures are a big no-no. So I can't figure, I don't think people would like just seeing me up there preaching or presiding as a picture on a website or a Facebook. So that's, and every time I ask the facilities why, it's always the HIPAA guidelines, HIPAA regs, HIPAA this, HIPAA that. And I got on the internet and got into it, and it's only about 350 pages, so I decided I'd take their word for it. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to suggest that if you're visiting nursing homes, that maybe you take a picture of the nursing home sign and stuff like that. So
I've done that, but that's very boring on a web page and Facebook.
A lot of, they don't have secret spaces, or, that you could.
What I'd like to do is go ahead and take one more comment about or two about Facebook, and then we'll keep moving along. So I've got one, and has anyone not had a chance to speak before? I know we've got folks who've made comments. All right, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll move to Twitter.
In my former life, we used to have, as a part of the masthead on our bulletin, a statement that said, "Your presence is permission for us to take pictures." So that, and I don't know what the legality of it all was, but we stated it, every bulletin had that in it, just in case it ever came up.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, just two benefits that we've had from Facebook that we haven't been able to get from anything else, and that is, like you said, the immediate, just all the little things that happen. Somebody mopping the floor, somebody, you know, all those little immediate fun things, whether it's volunteers or donors bringing a box of food or that sort of thing. And then the second one is just, I couldn't believe the immediacy of Facebook the other day when it was the fourth day of chilly weather and we'd run out of coats and things like that. I posted it on Facebook, and no photo, nothing, just hey, it's chilly out there. Anybody got a winter coat or, you know, something warm? And within 30 minutes, I had 3 people bringing armloads of coats to me. So that's how immediate it can be. And for a food pantry, if you said, hey, I don't have pasta, I don't have peanut butter, who's out there? It'll come.
You know, that's such a great example, because in the past, we were reliant on how do we get that word out? Phone calls, phone trees, you know, a lot of shoe leather, hand-to-hand combat, I'd like to say, or we were dependent on the media with limited space to tell that story for us. And the huge benefit of being able to, over time, we're talking a year, 2 years, 3 years, building a community online allows you to make things like that happen. To me, that's the true power for the work we do of social media. One other comment, head over here, and then we'll move.
And one small thing, and encouraging your people who follow you to share, because that's how we get it. It's a simple thing. Share this with your friends. I post it on my feed, someone else sees it, they share it, and they just keep sharing it, and that's how you get the word out for free.
Those are those circles again. Someone had asked the question, how can I build followers? How do I get more people to pay attention? And there were, and we've talked about a few of these already. Thank you for sharing the share point at the bottom. But, you know, use all of those kind of outlets available to you. Whatever you're on, make sure that if you're creating content, that you're posting it and linking to it. You know, share what others are posting. If you're kind of watching other Facebooks and groups that you're interested in, comment there. Make sure you identify yourself and where you're from, and use that opportunity, because then quite likely you're going to start creating and cross-fertilizing those kinds of conversations. Sharing becomes important, and then we talked a lot about posting and tagging photos where you can, when you can, are ways of communities beginning to share. Look, see what I've seen. Look at me here. Here's a picture. And those conversations all of a sudden start creating discussions as well. So, you know, these 5 points are very, very simple ways to build following, to build more users. Any other quick thoughts that anyone has that you found effective in getting more people to start coming to your pages? Asking for coats probably prompted some people to share that message with others too. Okay.
This is really a question, not a comment. But, you know, when you have a website, I guess the thought is that you're building sort of your church's story through the website. You can tell your history and all sorts of things. But when you're doing Facebook, and because it is so fluid, how do you work to be sure that whatever is being posted there is telling the story of the church, or, you know, it's giving that image that you really want, so that you don't have people just going to the website and just saying, oh, here I am at the zoo, you know, but I'm in the Incarnation, so let me put my picture there. And so how do you kind of ensure that you have some kind of a cohesive message?
When you're an organization, you actually have an administrator of the Facebook, and they are the gatekeeper. So then it does get filtered through a single voice.
Okay. I think, you know, you have a description right up top too, so you have an opportunity to express. It's short, but express a bit about the organization. And I think the goal of the administrator is not to cut things per se, because arbitrarily just removing things from the page begins to upset people, but introducing topics, posting information. So in effect, think of Facebook as kind of your church in action. And the website is kind of like your church and the history and the resources and everything come together to find whatever you need in one place. So they really complement one another. That's a great question. And I've also seen that in a best practice, normally there are a couple of people who have administrative rights to the site because somebody's on vacation, they're gone for a week. So you're not investing that whole important device in the hands of one person. And the reality is that if you're going to do it right, it takes time every day to keep up with it and watch and see what people are saying. So that's back to the resource. Make sure you've got the right people supporting you. Fresh content, I think that's important, as we said before. If it's not fresh, people aren't going to come back and see, and they're not going to be have reasons to visit. And you really do need to respond to comments when it's appropriate. Thank people for their ideas. They like to know that they've been paid attention to. So if they post something and nobody comments, they'll think, am I speaking back to the question before? It's like the tree in the forest. Am I saying something and nobody hears me? So thank someone if you haven't commented before. Let them know you're there and you're paying attention. Answer questions people might ask. So if someone asks a question about the church or your ministry and nobody answers it, you're going to say, it's just like walking in the front door of the building and nobody's at the reception desk and nobody's in the office, and you're thinking, hey, we've got this, but nobody's home. There's no reason for me to come back. And then refer them on if you can't answer a question. You know, there are resources that are available to you. This is about sharing and building together. So all kinds of opportunities to do that.